Americans who visited Europe, what was your biggest WTF moment? The sheer amount of alcohol that some people drink. Went out with some women in Portsmouth, England, and each ordered a couple bottles of wine to themselves. At first I was impressed, but then they got pretty sloppy as the night goes on. Spelling E2. For those of you saying that this is common in the US from whatever state you are from, I should have included that the 2 bottles of wine was just at dinner pregame. This was by no means all set drank throughout the night. Sure, you may have drunks in your area, but they are only labeled drunks because they either can't handle what they consume or because they drink more than the rest of the local population. They are effectively outliers over there, and from my personal experience, this was a social norm. In the US, the bartender would have either cut them off, kicked them out, called the cops, or all of the above. E3. So, from all of the replies that I have read, Wisconsin may be the US equivalent to Portsmouth. Spent a summer in Germany. They had the cleanest, safest, best tasting tap water, but nobody drank it and they called it toilet water. Also, the older people in village seemed super grumpy and mean and would never smile or respond if you said hello or good morning. But if you asked them a substantive question, like how to get to the museum, they would spend 15 minutes telling you the fastest way to get there, the scenic way to get there, everything interesting you should do on the way there, why that museum isn't actually that good and you should go to this other museum instead, all the different ways to get to the better museum, and where their grandmother used to live before the war. In Venice I saw someone's dog poop in front of 2 900-year-old churches and then they didn't even bother to pick it up. Blatant nudity everywhere. Porn mags just sitting at the front of newsstands in the middle of the city. A giant graffiti and nobody gave a it. Made me realize how prudish we are in the US. Edit. Titties. To the top. We were driving through Spain, and to the side of one of the roads, we noticed these massive birds' nests in the high-power electrical towers. They were at least twice the size of eagles' nests that I had seen, and there were so many of them. Then we saw these giant birds in them. We stopped by the side of the road and tried to take some pictures. Didn't have a great zoom lens, sadly, but no one else was stopping. It was so odd. We are accustomed to at least a few people stopping to watch the osprey, eagles, or other birds where I'm from. So a few days later, we are chatting with a German tourist, and we bring up the birds. I think she thought we were joking until we pulled out the pictures. Then she started laughing. Storks? Those are storks. Of course. Don't you know that? They are everywhere and such a nuisance. Don't you have storks in America? Well, no. Then she looked confused. Well, if you don't have storks, who brings the babies in kids' stories? Storks? How does that work? And that was when we realized that the story of the storks makes a whole lot more sense when storks are nesting on every chimney, tree, or tall place. I didn't know Parisians were actually going to be rude. Public urination is not uncommon. The country of Hungary. I became fascinated with their history because they seemed so unlike any other European country. While the country is pretty modern and Budapest is very modern, they seem ancient. It's hard to explain. The language seems ancient as well. You know how when you go to a new country, and there are basically the same 10 faces repeated over and over? I've never seen the standard Hungarian look before. That was the one place I'd say the people looked exotic, more so than people from places further east. Basically how I drank every day over there while studying abroad and actually lost weight between the walking everywhere and eating somewhat healthy food besides the processed crap we have here. When I copyright earring visited the hospital and had x-rays done, spoke with 2 doctors and was triaged by a nurse, all with no health insurance, and my total bill was 24 euros. Then I copyright earring had to pay 10 additional euros for some painkillers, again with no insurance or anything. Had a positive what the duck moment in Greece in the eastern Peloponnese where I saw the guy walk down to the end of a pier and throw an actual ducking trident into the Aegean and pull out a wriggling octopus. Dude walked up the beach and handed it over the deck railing to a chef. Poop shelf on German toilets. Come on. I was in Spain as an exchange student. I had bronchitis after the flight. My host family took me to the ER which gave me a pill that eliminated the illness entirely under 2 days. I slept, woke up 100% better. It was banned in the USA. I wish I could recall its name. The biggest WTF moment in Europe for me was in Greece. I didn't know there were still places in the most developed parts of the world where you place your used toilet paper in the trash bin and not flush down the toilet. At pubs in England, youngish guys drinking bottles of Budweiser. Going to a soccer game in Italy, when buying a ticket, they needed to know which team I was rooting for to determine where I could sit. Then, during the game, people were setting things on fire. I was in Spain and I saw a group of American tourists wearing sombreros. In Amsterdam I saw the guy get jacked in the head with a bottle, take 2 steps back and then pass out. All his friends scattered, and the 2 old men shop owners were like, "Lol, kids, am I right?" Beer tap in the uni cafeteria. 1. I went to the Netherlands for a music festival over the summer last year. The night before I went to a show and met a Scottish guy who came over and said, "You look American." I replied yes and he immediately started talking about American politics and the military. It was weird how he assumed I was completely knowledgeable about all upper level government doings, but otherwise was a chill dude. 2. The fact that there's no AC. I didn't realize it wasn't standard and was melting in my hotel room. 3. How uncommon asking for ice is. I've never gotten stranger looks when I would ask for a drink with some ice. One person at the festival had to confirm she understood me lol. Feeling proud of myself for eating late, like a local, at 2100 hours in Lisbon only to walk into a empty restaurant. By the time I'd finished eating at 2200 hours the place was full. My American friends who visited the Netherlands, completely surprised by our bicycle things. So many bicycles everywhere. B. Everybody riding without a helmet. C. So many different bicycles. For me it was a lack of insects in England. Not that they don't exist, but I'm from Michigan with lots of swampy land around me. When I showed up at my dorm and saw there was no screen on my window, I was just thinking about all of the bugs that are gonna get in my room. I got 1 fly the entire month stay there. Paying to use a public restroom. I get why though. Just a horrible feeling if you really had to go and you don't have any change. I was 15 years old, ordering a beer at McDonald's. This is the best bratwurst I've ever had, and this is an airport. In Spain, everyone appears to be very thin, yet I swear eats a loaf of bread a day. I've posted this before, but nudity in broadcast TV was very surprising. It wasn't even a necessary for the story situation. Just a margarine commercial with a naked woman swimming in a lake and stepping out of the water to eat some bread. During prime time. I know American TV is kind of prudish that way, but it was a pretty shocking way to learn how different Germany is. Edit. Here is the commercial. SFW. In the US. At least. Obviously. People walking around drunk and nobody doing anything. Like we're just going to leave this person blackout drunk on the side of the walkway? I am convinced that the best kept secret in the entire world is that British people love curry. I rocked up here expecting chip shops and roast dinner, but instead was assaulted by every variety of tikka sauce that could possibly exist. Every meal in Paris taking 3 hours. I love the culture and I'm all about eating a relaxing meal. But sometimes it was just like WTF when we were on a schedule and had to meet up with a tour group or had reservations for something. The littering in a lot of places really blew me away, especially France. Part of this is due to the amount European smoke, I guess, because at times in Paris the cobblestone felt paved with cigarette butts. The quality of your fast food surprised me. Everything from the street vendors to chain fast food like McDonald's was better quality than anything I'd gotten in Canada. The people at every tourist site trying to sell you their crap was new to me. Knew it was coming but was still surprised by how widespread it was. Really took me by surprise when I saw some of them pulling their water bottles that they sell out of the sewers in the morning, though it makes sense in hindsight. Prague was even cheaper than what I had been told. Was great to be eating like a king without spending much, which was refreshing after some of the more expensive countries. Munich blew me away by how well culture and modernization were integrated. Definitely my pick for city I wanted to live in the most. Went to Spain. They weren't speaking Spanish. I learned that Catalan existed. This was years ago. I went to Italy and France about 10 years ago. One thing that really stood out was I never saw any obese people. Quite a stark contrast from America. The 14-year-old Italian boys trying to get with the 24-year-old chicks I was with was pretty funny. Also, the fact that they don't chill shots of Jaeger was fairly unsettling. I lived in Germany for 8 years from 1992 to 2000, ages 4-12. I didn't realize it until I moved back to the States, but there were recycling bins on every street corner. It wasn't just a green bin then a trash can. It was a giant blue bin. One section for green glass, one for brown glass, one for clear glass, one for plastic, and one for paper. Oh, and going to a German school, students took public transit. There wasn't such a thing as a school bus. Edit. Public transit as in city buses and trains. The students weren't segregated into their own modes of transportation. Not American, but Canadian. First time I went to Ireland, I go through customs and the agent says to me, business or personal? Personal. Oh yeah. What's up? Visiting the in-laws. First time in Ireland? Yes sir. Feckin' A. Well, why ya standing around? Go get pissed. Edit obligatory thanks for the gold stranger. A Parisian fare collector was very upset with me when I caught him overcharging me. He eventually gave me my money back, but with a ton of attitude and profanity. You'll get how many days of paid vacation, and sick leave, and public health care, and you don't live in a socialist hellhole like I've been told. America, you lied to me. Seeing an elderly Chinese tourist pull down her grandkid's pants so he can take a crap on the sidewalk. It was in the entrance of Disneyland in Paris. At a lake retreat in Germany, kids playing in around the lake naked. The urinal type things in Amsterdam were interesting. Also the way English people say urinal. In Germany they have to give something like 60 days notice if they're planning to fire, planning to quit a job. For some reason that seems so crazy, but I realize being fired with no notice whatever is pretty ducked, and we should have a similar system honestly. And how great their recycling system was. And also I didn't realize the water closet was the bathroom until after my trip. I felt stupid. Really stupid.